Hey guys, Chelsea from Attention to Details, and welcome back to the channel. We're doing a little bit of a different format. This was actually before pictures that I took for a detail that I did earlier this week on a Toyota Sienna. This is a mom of four. They are 6 and under, and the vehicle hadn't been detailed in about 4 years. And I know that this was definitely something that the customer was looking forward to and anticipating having done. When I first opened up this vehicle, the smell that came out of it was pretty strong. There was a lot of food and just stale smells within the interior. And upon initial assessment, it was kind of overwhelming. And I wanted to kind of talk you through, and I'll show you a couple looks or a couple different products of how I addressed this interior now, because I was so pressed for time. This took 12 hours for me to complete. I didn't have time to do my typical footage that I would do a time lapse or kind of talk you through my scenarios. So as we go through some of the pictures, you can see there's heavy soiling and staining in our carpets. All of our plastics are just sticky, greasy. Our seat tracks needed to be vacuumed and cleaned out. There were even some stains that were still wet to the touch right around this area. Our leather, the perforation was extremely soiled, and a lot of it cleaned up just by vacuuming alone. It took about 4 hours from start to finish to vacuum out this interior. We ended up pulling the middle seats and just pushing our seats forward and backwards. Even when we were just kind of closing our third row seats, food and crumbs just kind of kept spilling out. You can see that stain there was actually still wet, and you can see when we moved our mats, the condition of the carpets beneath was actually pretty decent. So I knew what kind of color I needed to aim for, but the carpets, I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to get all the soiling out. You can see just how bad they were. But actually for our carpets, what I ended up doing, I used a drill brush to kind of get all of the loose soiling out, and then I used OxiClean that you would normally use for your laundry, and I sprayed it heavily and just let it sit for 5-10 minutes. Used my drill brush to agitate, resprayed it with Bonnet Pro Rocket Revive It, and then I pressure washed it, and this got probably 75% of the soiling out. This is a great technique if you have extreme soiling. Don't anticipate it drying out quickly. You can use a blower to kind of accelerate it, but chemical is going to be your friend. I actually follow this channel on YouTube that he solely cleans carpets, and a lot of times with his technique, it's just repeated chemical agitation, pushing out the moisture, spraying with your chemical, agitate, repeat until you have somewhat clean solution. And you can see I don't have a lot of heavy soiling that I'm picking up through my extractor. There was still some, but I was able to get probably 75 to 80% this first round. And what I ended up doing is letting them air dry a little bit, seeing what kind of wicking we had going on. And then I actually used my Mighty Heated Extractor with Bonnet Pro Radical Rinse in my rinse solution. That's going to kind of boost the cleaning solution for me, and I was able to get a majority of the soiling out. I honestly was kind of surprised with how well the carpets turned out. I didn't think that they would turn out as well as they did. But when you have heavy soiling in your carpets like that, sometimes a pressure washer is the only way to go. But don't think you're going to get everything out the first time. You might have to do multiple rounds of chemical, agitate, rinse, chemical, agitate, rinse. But patience is key, and we were able to get some pretty good results. So we are in the middle of working on this Toyota Sienna, and the before pictures show kind of the condition. There was a really bad odor on the interior, and we ended up actually spent about 4 hours vacuuming alone. All of the plastics we're going to have to clean with APC, a magic eraser. Headliner has like ketchup stains, things like that. The mats required actually soaking in a bucket of OxiClean, and then we actually pressure washed them. Then we used our Bonnet Pro Rocket Revive It, and probably 4 or 5 times agitated with the drill brush, extracted. You can see what kind of day I'm kind of having. We got our mats cleaned. We've got our carpets somewhat cleaned. I'm probably going to actually get my Mighty extractor, which is heated. I've been using my AquaProvac just because I'm going through so much solution and water. I'm using Radical Rinse from Bonnet Pro in my rinse solution just to try to continue to clean even as we rinse. But I'm just going through so much product that I'm going to kind of do one final deep cleaning with the hot water extraction. But let me show you what's going on with our mats. We do have a little bit of wicking, but again, we're going to be going over these with the hot water extraction again, so hopefully that should resolve that. So here are our mats after we did pressure washing. You can see we've got some wicking going on our passenger and driver side mats, but these mats cleaned up really well. The seats here are just absolutely destroyed, but I want to share with you guys what I'm using and what we're getting. It's super satisfying. But this actually here is Superior Products leather cleaner. This is a ready-to-use solution, and I'm just gonna do this one section right here just to show you how well it works. I'm not even using an Auto Fiber Scrub Ninja, which I will when I do this. It'll get in all these textured parts, but even just spraying this on there, you can see just how much soiling. We're gonna actually have to just discard these microfibers when we're done, because I don't know what's on these stains, and I don't want that in my washing machine. But you can just see how much soiling we're pulling off. I did a spot back here for my helper, and she was like, "What?" So it's not 100%. We still have to scrub with the Auto Fiber Scrub Ninja, but it's going to require a lot of chemicals. But fortunately, we have the right ones. With our Superior Products leather cleaner, we're going to be able to transform these leather seats. Forgive me, I caught a cold again. But here's the before condition of our seats. Here's inside the vehicle. You can see pretty much every surface needs to be cleaned. This is one of the worst vehicles I've ever done. I've already started extracting this back section here. Ran out of water and kind of stopped. We're gonna go ahead and keep extracting, keep vacuuming. All right, lots and lots to do. Customer hasn't cleaned their vehicle in 2 years, she said. They were waiting till their kids were bigger. But unfortunately, it did a lot of damage letting it go this long. I don't even have time to show all of the process. I'm just sharing with you some of the products. We got ketchup on the headliner, all down it. This was vacuumed, but just moving the seats forwards and backwards, things are just kind of falling out everywhere. So we've got a very, 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 very long day. I'm not feeling the best. I'm thankful that I had some help this morning. And again, this would probably be a two-day detail if I didn't have help. So So we still have some vacuuming to do. My helper pretty much stopped right around here, and then there was so many deep stains that she was actually like, there was actually a wet spot right around there that she was like, it was smelling really bad. So we just did a quick extraction just to improve the work environment a little bit, and it affected it greatly. But we still have a lot of wicking that's going to happen, so we're going to kind of pre-treat these again with chemicals. But we're going to get all of our leather scrubbed, all of our plastics deep cleaned. Magic erasers are really going to come in handy for majority of these surfaces. This is the kind of surface that a magic eraser is going to do really well on. We're not going to use that on our leather because it's cracked and faded, so we'll just use the Auto Fiber Scrub Ninja. I know that we'll probably pull a little bit of that coloring off because these are pretty faded, but the Superior Products leather cleaner is one of the most aggressive cleaners that I've ever worked with, and it'll just melt this stuff right off. So I'm looking for quick and effective at this point. So pray for me. I'll bring you back when it's all said and done. It's probably going to be several hours later. So, good Lord. So I'm just going to quickly talk you through my process. On our leather seats, I'm using the Auto Fiber Scrub Ninja. This is a felt-like material that is exceptionally well on cleaning textured surfaces. I use these a lot for my plastics and my leathers on interiors. And we're using Superior Products leather cleaner. This is a ready-to-use product. You don't want to dilute it. Now, this product cleans so quickly and effectively, but you don't want to use it on really damaged interior seats or if you are aware that they have been dyed. Now, I did find out after the fact that these seats had been dyed. Apparently, this is a 2010 Toyota Sienna, and these seats were not available until about the 2013 year forward because of the recliner option. So these were aftermarket seats, and I could tell that they had been dyed. In the center, you could kind of see where there was some damage or maybe a patch that was done, and I discovered that with this cleaner it can actually pull the dye right off, but I just very lightly and quickly went over those surfaces. I didn't want to scrub too aggressively, but the cleaner works so effectively that you really don't have to scrub aggressively with this. A lot of times on really nasty leathers like this, I'll see people pull out a magic eraser. Magic erasers are the equivalent of a 5,000 grit sandpaper, and it can actually remove the plastic coating that is on these vinyl seats, and it's going to then leave the colored portions exposed, and then you're going to pull off a lot of that coloring. So I don't recommend using magic erasers on seats like this, especially when they're kind of degraded, because you're going to end up scrubbing and pulling off that plastic coating, and then the customer is going to have issues in the future with heavy soiling and staining, or you're going to be pulling off that dye from the seats. So the Auto Fiber Scrub Ninja is perfect. You can see it transformed these seats once we were done. I was able to clean each seat probably 5-10 minutes, which isn't bad altogether, and it did a phenomenal job. I just did a final wipe down with a clean microfiber afterwards to remove any remaining residue, and these seats looked brand new. So I'll put the links to everything I used in the video description box down below for those of you that might be looking for products to use for yourself. But our carpets, we used the Mighty Light Heated Extractor, Bonnet Pro Rocket Revive It at a 5:1 dilution ratio. I used my drill brushes and then Radical Rinse in the rinse solution. I did use my steamer in certain spots that were more caked on, but our carpets turned out so well. I was honestly really surprised how well they turned out. Our leather, we used our Superior Products leather cleaner. On all of our plastics, we used a wet magic eraser and Superior Products Does It All enzyme cleaner. This is similar to Pink Perfection, but it has an enzyme solution within it, which was going to help go after any odors on the interior. Our glass, we used invisible glass with a wet magic eraser to remove the film as well as any stuck-on bits, and then we followed up with 2 fresh microfibers. And then for final touch, we wiped all of our hard surfaces down with Invisible Glass Power Clean Interior Detailer, left behind a wonderful smell, satin finish, and UV protectant. On our headliner, we used Royal Reflections Aftermath Biohazard Cleaner to go after any staining. Head to toe, this interior was completely transformed. Now, this was a lot of work, and I was utterly exhausted by the end of it. It was 12 hours total, And for those of you that are wondering how much did something like this charge, this was just pretty much my hourly rate for the customer, and I told her that up front and she was completely fine with that. But when you have this much chemical, this much work, it's not necessarily going to be cheap. But the customer was well aware of that, and she was extremely happy with the end result. So hopefully the vehicle is going to be a lot easier for her to maintain moving forward, and we definitely hopefully will be able to see this vehicle more frequently so it's easier to maintain. But for those of you that enjoy those satisfactory before and afters, hopefully you enjoy a little bit more of this process. I'm going to put the links to everything down below, but we'll see you in the next detail.